Have you ever been home alone and felt like you weren't really alone? Well, that's exactly what happened to one of our listeners who shared this petrifying tale of a time they found themselves home alone. This story is not for the faint-hearted. Picture this. It was a cold winter evening. Our listener, let's call him John, was home alone, enjoying the peace and quiet that the solitude offered. Deciding to take a hot shower, John went into the bathroom, blissfully unaware of the chilling experience that lay ahead. As the hot water coursed down his body, steam began to fill the room, creating a comforting cocoon of warmth against the winter chill. But as John turned his eyes towards the bathroom wall, he noticed an ominous shadow, a shadow that wasn't his own. Now you might think that it was just a trick of the light, or maybe a figment of his imagination. But as John continued to watch, the shadow began to move, independent of his own movements. A cold shiver ran down his spine as he realized that this was no ordinary shadow. It twisted and turned, as if it had a life of its own. John, now paralyzed with fear, could only watch as the shadow danced on the wall. He dared not move, dared not breathe, fearing that any movement might provoke the entity. The shadow continued its eerie dance, oblivious to the terror it was inflicting. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the shadow disappeared. The steam cleared and the bathroom returned to its normal state, but it was too late. The damage was done. The tranquility of the home had been shattered, replaced with a sense of dread and unease. John, still in shock, quickly finished his shower and stepped out of the bathroom, half expecting to see an intruder in his home, but there was no one. He searched every nook and cranny, every possible hiding place, but he found nothing. The house was as empty as it had been before he went into the shower, yet the memory of the shadow lingered, casting a dark cloud over the once peaceful home. The silence of the house was no longer comforting, it was menacing, a constant reminder of the unexplained incident. Unable to shake off the eerie experience, John eventually made the difficult decision to move out. He could not bear to stay in a house where he felt he was not alone. A house where his peace of mind had been stolen by an inexplicable shadow. Just imagine, a shadow that wasn't yours, moving of its own accord, in your own home. No wonder our listener decided to leave. What if you discovered that you were being watched in your own home without your knowledge? A chilling thought, isn't it? But that's precisely what our second tale delves into. A story of an unseen presence, a silent watcher that turned an ordinary home into an eerie playground of fear and paranoia. Our listener, let's call them Alex, began experiencing an unexplainable sensation. It was a feeling of being watched, constantly, while alone at home. This wasn't the casual feeling of unease one might experience in a dark, quiet house. No, this was more. It was as if someone or something was always present, always observing. An unseen pair of eyes following Alex's every move. This feeling wasn't a fleeting sensation. Instead, it grew in intensity over time. Each passing day, the feeling would strengthen, deepening the sense of unease. The once comforting solitude of the home turned into an echo chamber of fear. The familiar corners of the house began to seem ominous, the shadows a little too dark, the silence a little too loud. Alex's life was overtaken by this paranoia. The fear of the unseen watcher was a constant companion, like a ghostly shadow that refused to let go. It was a relentless, gnawing feeling that began to consume Alex, turning the safety of home into a realm of constant dread. Then, one day, in a desperate attempt to uncover this invisible entity, Alex ventured into the attic. It was a place rarely visited, a dusty, cobweb-filled space filled with relics of the past. Among the forgotten objects, Alex made a chilling discovery. There, in the far corner of the attic, stood an old, dusty mirror. Now there was nothing particularly unusual about the mirror itself. It was a relic, cracked and worn, a testament to years of neglect. But it was the mirror's position that sent a chill down Alex's spine. It was angled in such a way that it reflected the entire house. Every room, every corner was visible in the mirror's reflection. It was a horrifying realization. The mirror had been the silent watcher. It had seen everything, reflected everything. It was as if the mirror had been an invisible entity, watching over Alex, following every movement. With a pounding heart, Alex covered the mirror. A heavy blanket was thrown over it, obscuring its reflective surface, silencing the watcher. And just like that, the feeling of being watched, the constant sense of dread, immediately subsided. The house returned to its previous state of comforting solitude. The corners were no longer ominous, the shadows no longer too dark, and the silence no longer too loud. The relentless fear that had consumed Alex was gone, replaced by a profound relief. The mirror remained covered, the silent watcher silenced. Yet, the experience left a lingering thought in Alex's mind. A chilling question that would forever haunt. What if the mirror wasn't the only watcher? What if there were other unseen eyes, lurking in the shadows, watching silently? It turns out all along the silent watcher was just a mirror. But it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What unseen eyes might be watching you right now? Our homes are our sanctuaries, our safe havens. But sometimes, in the hushed whispers of the night, in the unseen corners of our rooms, there might just be a silent watcher, an unseen presence, a silent observer, waiting, watching. So, the next time you're home alone, take a moment to look around. Who knows what you might discover? What would you do if your home was plunged into darkness and you heard unfamiliar voices inside? This chilling question sets the stage for our final tale, a story that is bound to send shivers down your spine. Imagine this: you're home alone, relaxing in the comfort of your own space. Suddenly, the lights flicker and die, leaving you in an all-encompassing blackness. The sound of silence is broken by an eerie whispering, the words indistinguishable, but the intent unmistakable. Your heart hammers in your chest as soft, menacing footsteps echo around the house. You're paralyzed by fear, trapped in your own home. You're not alone anymore. The whispering grows louder, the footsteps closer. You can't see anything, but you can feel the presence of something or someone lurking in the shadows. The air is thick with fear and suspense, each second stretching into an eternity. Then, just as abruptly as it began, the power surges back on. The lights flood the room, banishing the darkness to the corners. You look around, expecting to see a figure, a face, anything to explain the terrifying ordeal. But there's nothing. No signs of forced entry, no evidence of anyone else in the house. The whispers and footsteps that had seemed so real were gone, leaving only a chilling silence in their wake. This incident leaves our listener petrified, unable to shake off the feeling of being watched, of being invaded. The fear of the unknown, the unexplainable, is too much to bear, so they decide to move out, hoping to leave behind the echoes of that horrifying night. But the memory follows, a constant reminder of the terror that lurked within the darkness. The fear of the unseen, the unheard, the unexplainable remains. Our listener was left with no explanation for the voices and footsteps heard during the blackout. Makes you think, doesn't it? How many of us could stand our ground when faced with the unexplainable?